Good morning, everyone. If you can hear my voice, make your way inside. Morning, morning, morning.
Sonia, I would run, but I don't think my knees can handle it.
Come on, old man, get up here. Those knees work. Good morning, everyone. We want to welcome you. My name is Sonia, and I am joined by my friend E. It's spooky season. What are you looking forward to this coming week?
Candy.
Candy?
Lots and lots of candy.
But you don't have kids to steal it from anymore, so who are you stealing it from?
Oh, you kind of roam around, you know. I heard there's something happened at Love Handles, so I may be scoping the area around.
Oh, all right. So watch out for this guy. Good morning, everyone. We are a community of faith, hope, and love, helping people find their because we believe you were created on, and we want to be, for it, and we want to be part of that story any way we can.
So, as you can tell, normally we kind of do things a little different. We like to have fun here at Ford Point. So we start off usually with a game. Our resident host, G-Pop, is usually here telling his dad jokes, which we all love and appreciate. But due to the conversation we're going to have this morning, we just need a little extra time for that, so we're just going to jump right into it. So for those who are new, we want to give you a special thank you and a welcome for joining us here this morning. We appreciate having you here. I just want to tell you some things, what to expect. Over the next 75 minutes or so, there's not going to be a right way or wrong way to do things. Feel free to sit, stand, have some coffee, some water, some popcorn. However it is that you want to participate, you're more than welcome to. Feel free to do so. If you are new and you haven't had a chance to visit our Welcome Center, we have a free gift for you. We have some delicious banana nut bread and a little package to kind of welcome you. If you haven't gotten it, no worries. At some point today, before you leave, right past these doors, you'll see somebody sitting at a table. It's a welcome center. They'll be more than happy to meet you, greet you, and give you your free gift.
Absolutely. Again, if you're a guest here, if you haven't been here before, for a second time, or if you haven't done it yet, we do encourage you to fill out our digital connection card by texting the word 315, texting the word welcome to 315-883-2213. That'll just allow us to get a little more information from you and send you another small token of our appreciation in the mail. There are many ways to connect. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all of the good things. Share a story, send an invite to someone. You never know what your post or how that will affect someone. And the best way to get connected here is through the Church Center app. You can find that in both app stores. We encourage you to download that. That's our calendar, our events, our life groups. Any information, if you need help with that, ask us. We can guide you through that as well.
And like I said, we like to have fun here at Ford Point. So we do have events that are coming up. You can see that on the Church Center app. We have a Main Street Trick or Treat. Was it Trunk or Treat or Trick or Treat?
It's a trick or treat. We love to get involved with the local businesses.
Absolutely. So today at Love Handles from 1 to 4. And also on Thursday.
12 to 4.
Oh, is it 12 to 4? Is flip-flop? Oh, yeah, 12 to 4. Sorry. I'm ahead of myself. I like looking ahead into the future. So, yeah, today's from 12 to 4 p.m., so come to James Street. It's right there on Love Handles. Love to have you there.
So we have Love Handles, Bugbear and Bean, the coffee shop, Curd Nerd, Eastwood Homes. It's just a good way to support the community, have a little fun, and get out there and show our faces. And I've been saying it for weeks. I'm so excited it's finally here. Our biggest outreach, one of the biggest, is this Thursday, Halloween night. We're going to open up Love Handles, give out free samples of froyo. We're going to have a trunk or treat. We encourage you to invite your friends, invite somebody. If you're signed up to volunteer, connect with me and Carol throughout the week. Or if you still would like to volunteer, we can fit you in somewhere if you have any last questions. But that is this Thursday from 6 to 8. We are so excited. And last but not least, if you're a kiddo, get out of here.
Wait a minute. If you're a kid, let me hear you scream.
Don't meet you in that back corner up there, okay?
If you're a kid, let me hear you scream. No?
No.
No?
We don't need screaming kids this morning. Thank you, guys.
stakes are too high for you to stay home.
It's going to get dirtier in these last few days.
No apologies, no regret. We will not be coerced. We will not tolerate being pushed around.
Sometimes someone hurts you so bad. It stops hurting at all. Until something makes you feel again. And then it all comes back. Every word. Every hurt. Every moment. How could you ever understand where I come from? Even if you ask, even if you listen, you do not really hear or see or feel. You don't remember my story. You haven't walked my path. You haven't seen what I've seen. My past defines me. This is who I am. I am unseen, unheard, unwanted. That is what I am, if even I am anything. It seemed like the same thing that held me up forced me down. And the world turned upside down, and order disappeared. Nothing was how it was supposed to be. And a heavy sadness filled my soul. deeper and deeper I fell within myself. And nothing could draw me out. Trapped in the misery of my life. Lost in the sorrow of my soul. Unable to see the light. Unable to see the dawn. To feel. To hope.
What are you doing picking my fruit?
To dream. And I found the darkest days of my life kept coming. The blackest nights for my soul never stopped. It seemed like it was always nighttime and nightmares and never morning. And maybe you wonder why, but mostly you try not to think about it and try to get by and try to survive. And all the other stuff seems so much like nothing compared to just wanting the most important things back again. Like wishing you could see your mama smile again and hear her sing that one favorite song that always calmed you down when things were all messed up. Or if you couldn't have her back, at least get to take care of your baby brother. 'Cause you know he needs you, and he's gonna be so scared all alone. And who's gonna hold his hand and whisper it'll be all right to him? And who will whisper it to me? I know I am helpless, dependent, desperate. But what happens when those you need the most threaten your very existence? I've heard plenty of promises, and they all sound the same. But push hard enough, and sooner or later, they all prove to be empty. The sun comes up every morning, but do you know where? Each place, it's somewhere different. It's hard to find east when you keep moving around. But at least it comes. It always comes. I've come to depend on that. And slowly seasons changed around me. And it seemed this time that maybe the world would not be pulled out from under me again. Feet safe, roots starting to grow, little buds of hope forming, slowly attempting to trust this new life.
Hey, come on over. Let me show you what I got for you. Got you a gift.
I wish someone would tell me it's gonna be okay.
I swear to God, you touch me again, I will kill you.
Touch me! Don't care about that one day, maybe, I feel normal. That I won't always be alone. I'll have a mommy who will hug me and be strong for me, because maybe I can't do it all by myself.
Hi, yes. I'm calling to let you guys know that I have phone number this month. Thank you so much. Yes. The daughter. Okay, make sure you call.
This, my past, my history, my story, is not my fault. It's not because of me. And doesn't have to be what defines my future. I am lovable. I am worthy of care. And that glimmer of light, it makes all the difference. The glimmers of light give me hope that someday my summer will come.
Good morning, Ford Point. My name is Jeremy. I'm one of the pastors here. My wife and I have been going through the process of working our way through the foster care system. And during one of the training sessions we had, that was one of the videos that they showed us. And as you can tell, it's kind of indicative of not just one story that you see across our county and across the country, but it's indicative of many stories that happen in our county and across the country. And when you have a story like that, you kind of ask yourself, what do you say to that little girl that kind of makes any sense, right? What do you say to this young girl who is going through this tragedy in her life, no result of her own actions? What do you say that's going to make some kind of sense of what's happening? What we tend to do in the Christian world is we tend to kind of offer platitudes or cards. We have different statements that we make. A very popular one, you may even have this in your house somewhere, is the verse in Jeremiah. It says, "I know what I'm doing. I have it all planned out, plans to take care of you, not abandon you, plans to give you the future that you hope for." This is from the Message. You may recognize it more this way. "For I know the plans that I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope in a future." Right? We hear things like that, we say things like that, and it makes us feel really good when things are going well. But when things are not going so well, it kind of acts like a slap in the face. Right? Try telling this little girl who's experienced everything she's experienced in the short years that she's had here on this earth that God knows the plans that he has for her, because right now she doesn't really feel like she has any plans. Just hopefully that she can make it through the day. And sometimes our offerings come across just as mere sympathy, as opposed to we're called as followers of Christ to show empathy, to get down into the hole with people. So how do we do that? This is not the life that this little girl was created to live. You and I, we were probably not living the life we were created to live. If you remember back in the beginning in Genesis, we were created for eternity. We were created for the Garden of Eden to live in eternity. And then something went wrong. Sin entered the world, and all of a sudden our bodies started decaying. All of a sudden the world around us started decaying. Our spirit will continue to live on throughout eternity. Our spirit is made for togetherness with our Father in heaven. But now we look around us, and there's all sorts of examples of the decay that's happened as a result of what happened in the garden. And when Eve and Adam took of the tree of the knowledge of the good and evil, and sin entered the world, they were banished from the garden. They now had to live a life of an exile, right? A living life for something other than what they were created for, other than what they were made for. Kind of this reality of this is not their home. They were created for something else. And as the story goes on, God would then have a conversation with Abraham, and he would say, Abraham, I'm looking for a people to work through. I'm looking for a people that I can bless the entire world through. Would you make a covenant with me to be that representative here on the earth? And here's kind of what it comes along with it. You're going to be a peculiar people is the word that's used, a strange people. Like, you're not really going to fit in. I need an example of what it looks like to live as an exile here on earth. This tension of made for something other than where we're currently at. Would you do that? And Abraham said yes, and this covenant was made, and to this day we have the Jewish people, the Israelites, and all throughout their history, you read throughout the Bible, different times where they kind of got caught up in the cycle where God would bless them because he was their chosen, his chosen people, but then they would kind of get comfortable in the blessing, and then God would have to bring judgment to them as a result of their sin, and there would be repentance, and then as a result of their repentance, God would bless them again. And there's this a cycle over and over and over again. And then there are slaves in Egypt, there's Moses and the Ten Commandments, and as they're leaving and they're going to be brought to the promised land, something begins to happen inside of them as they're experiencing the prosperity of the promised land. They begin to look around and they say, you know what, we don't really look like the people around us. The people around us have got kings and kingdoms and all these things. We want that, God. We're not really content anymore with just you kind of leading us with the pillar of fire and the cloud by day. We want a king like everyone else around us because we want to look like everybody else around us. So they asked God for a king. And they got exactly that. They got their king because that's what they wanted. And God said, this is not going to go well for you. You were created to be different, to look different, to live as exiles here on the earth. And as it turns out that, looking like everyone else does not draw you closer to God. Gradually, there was a decline and a falling away farther and farther away from their relationship with God and who they were created for, until eventually they were conquered and taken away as captives. No longer voluntary exiles, now they were forced exiles. The Babylonians came in multiple times, and they would take back with them different captives who would then live in exile as a result of being captive. And all week I kind of struggled with, how do I bring our Forward Point family into what does it feel like to be an exile? Because it's not really something that we have to deal with. We don't know what it's like to be an exile, to kind of be a conquered people, or to live amongst a place that we were not created for, that's not ours. We're America. We're the most prosperous country in the world, so we kind of have it easy, right? So how do we enter into the story of what it looks like to live as an exile here on earth? And then finally I sat down and the story, this video that we watched of this young girl came to mind, right? It would be easy to kind of make light of it. It'd be easy to say, it's like being a Jets or a Giants fan here, right? In Bill's country, you're kind of an exile there, right? Or it's kind of like using Apple products when, all these heathen Android users are around us, right? It's kind of, what it feels like to be an exile. And you kind of make light of it, but it doesn't really cut to the heart of what it feels like to be an exile. A young girl who was created to have a family, to be part of a family, to be taken care of and to be loved, and then to just have to be ushered around from place to place, hoping that wherever she lands up is going to be some place that loves her and takes care of her. The foster care system represents an active people who are in exile in the world today, right? And try talking to this young girl going through this kind of trauma where the very life that she knows around her is being taken away from. The token, right, for I know the plans that I have for you, declares the Lord. The token verses that we have maybe on our walls. And we realize, man, it kind of leaves something to be desired. Well, the story of America is really not much different, right? We all know the story of the settlers who came and sailed the ocean blue to discover this new world, as it were. They got here and they loved everything that we had. They were looking for a way to be able to travel faster, and they discovered this new world. And eventually what would happen is then the Puritans and the Pilgrims would come and settle in this new world. And you know that the main reason that the Puritans and the Pilgrims came to this new world was because they were facing religious persecution. Right? People didn't like the way that they were living in their relationship and their religion and their faith. So they said, you know, we're gonna get out of here. We're gonna make this dangerous journey, and we're gonna go to this new world where you can start free. And that again epitomizes this idea of living as an exile, right? They had their homeland, but now they would make this journey and start over in this new place that they weren't created for. They didn't know anybody. They didn't have the resources to just make it easy, but they started fresh in this new world. And things would become civilized, and it would grow, and then eventually America would discover its independence. We would fight in the Revolutionary War, and we would say, hey, basically to some king, 3,000 miles away, you do not have authority over us. You're doing all these taxes without representation, and then a bunch of would-be revolutionaries said, we've had enough. And they fought, and they sacrificed, and they died, and now we have the United States of America. But something happened, I think, with that process that has done some undermining of our calling as followers of Christ. You see, we kind of have lost our identity as exiles. That the reality is this is not our home. You and I were not made for planet Earth. You and I were not even made for America. Man, I count my blessings that I'm here, that I was born in America. I think that is the greatest thing that could happen. But somewhere along the line, we've lost our identity as exiles, and we've grown comfortable at just being an American and being here in America. And in faith circles and in Christian circles, there's this growing sentiment that we have to fight, and we're right, and we got to have it our way because we're losing our hold in the culture around us. This last week, I was a part of a group text message that there's a bunch of people on, and one of the guys who started it, he loves to put out different prayers and different verses, and he sent a picture of a verse, and the verse was from a different translation, and it wasn't very popular. It's called the Passion Translation. And one of the other guys in the group kind of questioned that, and then all of a sudden, a bunch of people just started, putting different videos of why the Passion Translation was not a good translation. And I began to think to myself that of all the things that are going on in our city, in our country, that we have the time, that we have the energy to complain about, to argue about which translations of the Bible are good and which ones are not. Now, I believe with all my heart that we need to have accurate translations for sure. But much like in Jesus' day when he accused the religious leaders of, you spend so much time trying to strain a gnat out of a milk when all along you're also swallowing a camel. Or he also said, you pay attention to the speck in the other person's eye when there's a log in your own eye, right? Because we don't live as exiles. We live comfortably. We live like we've got the answer. We've got the truth. But what we learned from the Old Testament and from the Israelites when they were taken into captivity, we're given a picture of how God has called us to live, especially in times like this where it's a little heated. It's 9 days to Election Day, and it's a little crazy out there. There's a good chance that there's people here on different spectrums of their views. But how do we come together and live as exiles? Last week we talked about, this life of being a martyr, that throughout history the church has always grown during times of persecution. What would it look like if we assumed the role of the martyr. I'm not saying that I hope that we all die or that we have to have that point where we might be challenged to die for our faith. But there's something about persecution that lays the foundation for a strong faith, which is not really something that we have here in America right now. We have a very weak faith because we have our country, our notion of a Christian nation, and we think that we're good the way that we are. But something happened to the Jews when they were in exile. There was a lot of people who would say different things to kind of work up the people and say, this is not going to be long. God would not allow this to happen for us. So it's going to be 2 years, and this is going to be over and we'll be free. So what that did was that kind of allowed for the people to kind of have this, thanks Corey, to have this mentality of, we're going to be rebellious, we're going to have a revolt, we're going to win back our freedom. And the prophet Jeremiah has some words from God for these people that are very poignant for them and also for us. Because 4 point, we are living, or should be living as exiles here in Syracuse, in Onondaga County, in America. Granted, we may have U.S. citizenship, but we also should have a heavenly citizenship that trumps all that. And this is what Jeremiah says. Jeremiah chapter 29, starting at verse 1, it says, "This is the letter that the prophet Jeremiah sent from Jerusalem to what was left of the elders among the exiles, to the priests and prophets and all the exiles whom Nebuchadnezzar had taken to Babylon from Jerusalem, including King Jehoiakim, the queen mother, the government leaders, and all the skilled laborers and craftsmen." All right, everybody listen up. Here's what God has to say. He says, this is the message from God of the angel armies, right? And just, using that title, what do you think he's going to say? All right, when Jeremiah starts talking about this is the message that God of the angel armies has, I think in our mindset, we immediately think, okay, it's time to take up our swords. It's time to take up our action, everything that we can do to overthrow the system, that God's going to call us to take over the people in charge here. This is the message from the God of the angel armies, Israel's God, to all the exiles I've taken from Jerusalem to Babylon. And I would say to all the exiles like you and me here in America. This is the message. He says, not to overthrow, not to pick up your sword, not to pick up your guns. He says, but I want you to build houses and make yourselves at home, to put in gardens and to eat what grows in that country. Jeremiah begins to say, there's this idea floating around that, you're going to be a part of some kind of rebellion, that you're going to win your own freedom, that you are called to buck the system here, to gain back what you think you deserve, your nationality, your kingdom. And Jeremiah says, no. It's not the formula here. That's not what God is calling us to do. What God is calling us to do is actually to build houses and to make ourselves at home, to put in gardens and eat what grows in that country. He goes on, he says, I want you to marry and have children. Encourage your children to marry and have children so that you'll thrive in that country and not waste away. Right? In fact, I want you to go and, go find some good-looking Babylonians. Go find some good lookers and create a family. Start to expand. He says, make yourselves at home there and work for the country's welfare. Right? He doesn't say, stand on the corner with your bullhorn and your sandwich board sign and tell everybody how they're wrong and the judgment that's coming. He doesn't say, go and build a bunch of churches, 4 at every corner. He says, what I want you to do is I want you to bloom where you're planted. I want you to grow some roots right where you're at. In the midst of living as an exile, you can live a blessed life, and you can live a life that is for the good of the country and the people in the land at which you find yourself. Or Paul would go on to tell us in the New Testament, he says, you're going to become all things to all people. Now, don't become so well adjusted to the world around you that you fit in. You can't tell the difference. Jeremiah is not telling the people to lose their identity as exiles, to lose their identity as Jews and this peculiar people. Don't lose that identity, but also in the same point, you can plant some roots. You can live for the betterment of the world around you, the country around you. You can work for the country's welfare so that it's better. Work as hard as you can for the country's welfare. And it becomes pretty overtly obvious that it's a little bit different than what we're used to, right? For the country's welfare. In our culture, you know, what has become overtly obvious is we want to win. We have the answer, we're right, and we want to win. That's the message that people see and hear more than anything else. We're right and we want to win. We've lost our perception of being for the people. Right, where we're kind of the moral conscious that we say a lot of times, man, we want to live in such a way here in Eastwood that if we ever had to close the doors, that the city would rise up and be like, what do we got to do to keep Forward Point here? Because they are such a blessing to our community, because they're such an integral part of what we do here in our community. But we tend to trade that in for the sake of we want to be right. We want our political candidate in the White House or in the mayor's office. And people want everyone to know where we are right. Or there's the other extreme where people just want to remove themselves. You probably have heard that, man, people just can't wait for Jesus to return or just can't wait to go to heaven. This idea that we got to remove ourselves. Can't wait to get out of here. And the message from Jeremiah to exiles is that it's not either one of those. It's not that you have all the answers and you're right and fight for that. And it's not that you just sit down and count down your days until you're going to get out of here. He says in the middle, there's this tension to live in where you can be about the good of the land around you. To live for what is going to be best for them. And not just, marry, not just build houses, not just plant gardens. He goes on. He says, this is what I want you to do. I want you to actually pray for Babylon's well-being. Because if things go well for Babylon, then things will go well for you. Just don't stop at marrying. Just don't stop at building houses and starting businesses. In fact, I want you to own, as an exile, I want you to own the responsibility that you are going to pray for Babylon. Pray for your captors. Can you imagine that? God's telling him, I want you to pray for the very people who came in and destroyed the city of Jerusalem, destroyed the temple, destroyed everything that you held and valued and considered important. I want you to pray for them. Because there's something about prayer that is very important, Forward Point. We kind of think about, when we say we're going to have, to make sure you pray, right? We probably have all sorts of ideas in our mind that I got to go into my closet, or I got to kneel next to my bed, and I got to say, specific words, or I don't know the words to pray, so you don't maybe don't even like to pray. But here's what I've come to learn about prayer. Prayer is really just talking to God about an issue, in this case, Babylon, in our case, America. But when you're really praying, because those prayers, those thoughts, that conversation, it turns into actions. It's real easy for us to just get together and kind of pray about maybe more like gossip, right? We tend to gossip through prayer. Oh, did you hear about so-and-so? We got to make sure we're praying for them, right? That's what we're good at that. But the kind of prayer here that Jeremiah is calling them to is the prayer that leads to actions. Like prayer without actions is meaningless. That God would call you and bring you to this place. You have, and I have, the opportunity to pray for America in such a way that when we get up, we start to be the answer to our own prayer. God, what does it look like for us to live in this land in such a way where we're for the good of the country around us? We're good for the good for this city around us. But for far too long, we've just stopped at words. Like Lily, our youngest, when she prays, she doesn't say amen. She says the end. And for many of us, that's kind of what happens. We say some words and we say the end and we go back to our worlds. But there's a way that I believe we're called to pray like they were in Babylon, that if we begin to adjust our perspective that we are nothing more than exiles here in America, where we begin to pray, what does it look like for us to be here for the good of Syracuse? What does it look like for us to be here for the good of Eastwood? Man, we're going to start businesses. Man, we're gonna do things where we're not expecting any kind of benefit in return. We're just gonna do things because it's what's good for the area around us. It's expensive, it's tiring, it takes a lot of work. But that's the kind of prayer we're talking about. It's a more than just words. It goes beyond words into actions. And when was the last time your prayers led to actions? Because for most of us, it stops at just words. And he goes on, pray for Babylon, but he says, yes, believe it or not. All right, I know this is not what you were expecting from the God of the angel armies. You were looking for a plan for rebellion and a plan to overthrow. Believe it or not, this is the message. Don't let all those so-called preachers and know-it-alls who are all over the place there take you in with their lies. Right? It's easy. We know all sorts of people who get themselves aligned with political parties. For a big part of our culture today, evangelicalism has been kind of taken hostage as nothing more than a puppet for some political parties. That's not what we're supposed to be. Don't pay any attention to their fantasies they keep coming up with to please you. They're a bunch of liars preaching lies and claiming I sent them. But I never sent them. Believe me, God's decree. This is God's word on the subject. As soon as Babylon's 70 years are up, and not a day before, I'll show up and take care of you as I promised and bring you back home. Right? There's going to come a day where you're not going to be in exile anymore. You weren't created for this, to be in exile. You're going to die. You're going to go to get to heaven. There will be a point when you will get to go back to Jerusalem. There's all sorts of ways that this is going to play out. But I know what I'm doing, and here's the famous verse that we all take away. I have it all planned out, plans to take care of you, not abandon you, plans to give you the future you hope for. But that comes after Ford Point. We've decided to live as an exile and to pray for, as an exile, the land in which we live, that we're going to build houses, we're going to plant gardens, that we're going to do things for the good of the place in which we are an exile. But we don't live that way. We live as though we are Americans, as though we have our security in this nation that some people died for us to have, and now we are set, and we're comfortable, and we're relaxed. But that's not what we were created for. We were created to live as an exile, and he goes on, he says, when you call on me, when you come and pray to me, I'll listen. Right, that prayer comes after all these other things, all these build houses, marry, plant gardens. Right? You're going to call on me, and I'll listen. When you come looking for me, you'll find me. Yes, when you get serious about finding me and want it more than anything else, I'll make sure you won't be disappointed. God's decree. I'll turn things around for you. I'll bring you back from all the countries into which I drove you. God's decree. Bring you home to the place from which I sent you off into exile. You can count on it. Do you see yourself as an exile, or do you see yourself as an American? Right? Because we weren't created for what we see around us and what we have. We were created for something else. But when we settle for living as an American, that's all we see. We think that's what's most important, that the right person's in the White House, the right person is in the office. But when we have an accurate view of why we were created, for an eternal perspective, God says, man, I promise I'm going to bring you back home. It is going to happen. But while you are in exile, this is how I want you to live. I want you to live for the good of the land in which I put you, for the good of the land in which I place you. And that looks like building homes, starting businesses, planting gardens. Pray. Pray for the good of the city. What does that look like for us? So, 4th point this morning, ask yourself, do you feel safe this morning? There's a good chance that for many of us, we probably do. We take comfort in our safety. But for some of you, you would say, no, I don't feel safe, right? My candidate is losing. My worldview is losing. The way that all my perspective and my views, that's losing. And no, I don't feel safe. For some of you, you would say, yes, I do feel safe because my candidate is winning. My candidate and my worldview is taking over. But in that, you are choosing to not live as an exile. You're choosing to live as you're at home here. And this morning, if you are seen as an outcast for any other reason here in Syracuse or in the life that you live at your workplace, if you're seen as an outcast for any other reason outside of your relationship with Jesus, then you are not living as an exile. Right? There's a lot of people we can identify. It's easy for us to see in other people. The different things that they do that push people away, or their posts, their social media posts, the different things, that the shirts that they wear that are constantly pushing people away, constantly poking the bear. And they would say, man, you know what, I'm doing that because I want everyone to be right like I'm right. But we all know what it's like to be on the receiving end of that. It doesn't feel very good. And over the past couple of weeks, this has kind of become obvious to me in the relationship that we have here with the city here in Eastwood. A couple of weeks back, before I started this series, I put a post up on social media with the graphic that you see there, and I said, hey, you know what, I'm just, in our Eastwood community conversation, I'm just looking for anybody who would want to have a conversation with me, anybody who would want to sit down and talk and, tell me about how you've been hurt by the church, how you've been hurt maybe through politics. I just want to hear stories. We talk a lot about being here because we're here for the unchurched, we're here for de-churched, people who grew up in maybe faith settings but have abandoned them or rebelled against them because of the way they were treated, the way that they saw things and they just didn't like it, so they left. So I want to hear your story. And man, can I tell you, this is a personal post for me. I got all sorts of people who came on there and just started coming after me. They looked at my profile and they said, man, you got all sorts of pro-life content on your personal profile. It's not even worth having a conversation with you. Now the person just flat out called me a fool. And I had a couple of ways that I could respond to that, right? I could respond by trying to gently recorrect the course of which this conversation was going. I could try to point out where they were wrong in their views. But I just chose to let it go. There were some other people who posted nasty things about the people who were posting. I had to delete and get rid of because that wasn't what it was for. And since then, I've had the opportunity. Some people did private message me to talk about their story and what was going on. But then I contrast that to another post that I made through Love Handles, our frozen yogurt shop that we have here. And we had some kids come in who tried to steal some freeze-dried candy, and we were able to catch them on our video, and we posted it. And it was just as a warning for the rest of the community to watch out for these 3 young people because they're kind of causing some trouble here in Eastwood. And can I tell you the amount of people who just came in and said, man, how could this happen to a place that does so much for the community? Man, I hope this doesn't happen again to them. We love this place. They do so much for the community. And for years, as long as Stephen and the Skinners and the Doyles have been together trying to do this Forward Point thing, we rack our brains and we work hard to try to figure out how does Forward Point become, this movement here in the city. And all along, we've got this place that is just striving to be the best froyo place, to be the best community hangout place. It just dawned on me that, we Love Handles more so before even Forward Point, at only 2 years old, is becoming the place that if it had to close, there would probably be an outcry greater than if Forward Point closed. A lot of people don't know that there's a connection, that the church owns the frozen yogurt shop. So in essence, a cry against them closing is a cry for Forward Point. But it revealed, as we strive to live as an exile, and we said, we're going to just abandon all the ways that we're supposed to do church, and supposed to do religion, and supposed to do faith. We're going to choose to build houses. We're going to start businesses. We're going to plant gardens. And we're just going to do things that are going to be for the good of the city around us. And that's what we're inviting you to in this election period. It's caused us to really look at who we are. If we're Americans first, that view through the filter our politics versus viewing through the filter of our relationship with Jesus. And it turns out that more often than not, we view the world through the filter of our politics and through the filter of our worldview versus the filter of Jesus. And we're inviting you through this series, through today, that we would return to our calling to live as exiles. To not be so comfortable in our prosperity and in the country that we have, that I'm grateful for. But I think for all too often it holds us back from being the kind of people that God wants to work through. That Love Handles would really just be the first of many different endeavors that come out of Forward Point, because our mindset is clear. One of our values is we value the heart of God for the city versus man's plans, that we're going to just do whatever we have to for the good of the city. So I believe in the future we're going to be doing things where we're remodeling homes, and we're taking spring breaks to just do all sorts of community beautification projects. That's going to be part of our story. But that can only happen as we choose to assume our calling as exiles, that we lay aside our political banners. Go vote, please, as long as it doesn't cause you to sin. Please go and vote. But recognize that that is just a small part of what it looks like to be here in Syracuse and to live for the good of the city. We need you to get out of spectator mode and to get into participant mode. Not because Forward Point needs it, but because you need it. Because you were created as an exile. This is not your home. And when you start to tap into being part of the solution, when you start to tap into being part of that young girl whose life was thrown into trauma, to fight for, to sacrifice for, to take the beatings for her, to at some point hopefully find healing. There's no greater purpose to have or to live for. And we say every week, you were created on purpose for a purpose. So maybe this morning you might start to enter into, and I believe it first comes with recognizing my identity as an exile first. And in that, we're going to be here for the good of the city, and we're going to pray for the city. We're going to plant gardens, some of us. We're going to build houses. We're going to marry. If you're single here this morning, there's good news for you. Get married. Because we're here for the good of the city. God, we are so grateful. So grateful that you chose to come down from heaven and live as an exile with us. That in the midst of chaos, and you would leave your place of peace in heaven to come down and live as an exile among us, to show us what it looks like in our relationship with you as we choose to follow you and become your disciple, what it looks like. To not get caught up with the political slogans, the religious slogans, but just to find people who are far from you and love on them. So God, would you help us to return to our roots, as exiles, and recognize that as beautiful and as great as the land is around us in which we live, this is not our home. So as we pray, would you help us to be the answer to our own prayers? That we would put action to the prayers, to the things that we begin to talk to you about, and how we can be here for the good of our city. Would you help us? And this morning, as we respond to you this morning through singing, through our prayer partners, would you just do a work in all of our hearts this morning? To prick us, to poke us, to prod us, to get uncomfortable. So with pride, we can live as exiles in the land in which you placed us.
When you walk into the room, every heart starts burning. Nothing matters more than just to sit here, your feet and worship you. We worship you. We love you. We love you, and we'll never stop. Can't live without you, Jesus. We love you, we can't get enough. All this is for you, Jesus. Starts to vanish. Every hopeless situation ceases to exist. When you walk into a room, the dead begin to rise, 'cause there's resurrection life in all you do. We love you, and we'll never stop. Jesus, we love you. got all we are. We give you permission, our hearts are yours. We want you, we want you. Come and consume, come and consume, God, all we are. We give you permission, our hearts are yours. We want you, oh, we want you. Come and consume, God, all we are. We give you permission, our hearts are yours. We want you, oh, we want you. We love you, we love you, and we'll never stop and live without you, Jesus. We love you. We can't get enough. All this is for you, Jesus. We love you. We'll never stop. Can't live without you, Jesus. We love you. We can't get enough. All this is for you, Jesus. For I spoke a word, you're singing over me. You have been so, so good to me. For I took a breath, you breathed your life in me. You have been so, so kind to me. Know the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Oh, it chases me down, fights till I found leaves the 99. I couldn't earn it, I don't deserve it. Still you give yourself away. Know the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. When I was your foe, when I was your foe, still your love fought for me. You've been so, so good to me. When I felt no worth, when I felt no worth, you paid it all for me. You've been so, so kind to me. Know the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Oh, it chases me down, fights till I found leaves of 99. I couldn't earn it, I don't deserve it. Still you give yourself away. And oh, the overwhelming, shadow. There's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. No, 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 there's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. There's no shadow, there's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. Oh, there's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Oh, it chases me down, bites till I found leaves of 99. I couldn't earn it, I don't deserve it, still you give yourself away. Know the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Lay your burdens down. Ooh, here in the Father's house. Check your shame at the door, 'cause it ain't welcome anymore. Ooh, you're in the Father's house. Sometimes I'm on this journey, I get lost in my mistakes. It looks to me like weakness is a careless strength. My story isn't over, my story's just begun. Failure won't define me, 'cause that's what my Father does. Failure won't define me, 'cause that's what my Father does. Ooh, lay your burdens down. Ooh, here in the Father's house. Check your shame at the door, 'cause it ain't welcome anymore. And ooh, you're in the Father's house. Life's not the end game, it's the journey's where you are. Never wanted perfect, you just wanted my heart. And the story isn't over if the story isn't good. This failure's never final when the Father's in the room. Come on. Failure's never final when the Father's in the room. Ooh, lay your burdens down. Ooh, here in the Father's house. Check your shame at the door, 'cause it ain't welcome anymore. And ooh, you're in the Father. Sing it again. And ooh, lay your burdens down. Ooh, here in the Father's house. Check your shame at the door, 'cause it ain't welcome anymore. And ooh, Father's house. Prodigals come home, helpless find home. 'Cause the love is on the move. Let me hear ya. When the Father's in the room, prison doors fling wide. The day comes to life. His love is on the move. When the Father's in the room, miracles take place. The cynical find face. Your love is breaking through. When the Father's in the room, let me hear ya. Jericho's once quaking, strongholds now shaking. Love's breaking through when the Father's in the room. walk through the shadow, your love surrounds me. There's nothing to fear now, for I am safe with you. Let me hear you, church. So when I fight, I fight on my knees with my hands lifted high. Oh God, the battle belongs to you, and every fear I lay at your feet. I sing through the night. Oh God, the battle belongs to you. And if you are for me, can be against me. For Jesus, there's nothing impossible for you. Let me hear you. When I see all the ashes, you see the beauty. God, you see the empty truth. So when I fight on my knees with my hands lifted high. Oh God, the battle belongs to you, and every fear I lay at your feet. Oh, I sing through the night. Oh God, the battle belongs to you. So when I fight on my knees with my hands lifted high. Oh God, the battle belongs to you, and every fear I lay at your feet. Oh, I'll sing through the night. Oh God, the battle belongs to you. Almighty fortress, you go before us. Nothing can stand against the power of our God. You shine in the shadows, you win every battle. Nothing can stand against the power of our God. An almighty fortress, you go before us. Nothing can stand against the power of our God. Shine in the shadows, you win every battle. Nothing can stand against the power of our God. So when I fight on my knees with my hands lifted high. Oh God, the battle belongs to you, and every fear I lay at your feet. Oh, I'll sing through the night. Oh God, the battle belongs. So when I fight on my knees with my hands lifted high. Oh God, the battle belongs to you, and every fear I lay at your feet. Oh, I sing through the night. Oh God, the battle belongs to you. Oh God, the battle belongs to you.
Guys, thank you again for joining us this morning. We hope you've enjoyed yourself. Just a couple of reminders. If this is your first, second time here, you're a guest with us today, remember, download our Church Center app, text the word welcome to 315-883-2213 to get better connected.
Absolutely. If you really like what we kind of do here at Fort Point and you really want to support us, we believe in a generous lifestyle. That includes a lot of things. Includes time, includes resources. But we believe here at Fort Point are really connecting with the community, connecting with each and every one of you. it does require some resources at times. So if you really like to do that and you really want to support us, there's many ways you can do that. You can do that in person. We have a Joy Box that's located right in the back. You can do that in person. You can text any amount to 84321. You can do it on the Church Center app. You can do it online at www.fordpoint.org/give.
And if there's something heavy on your heart this morning, something light, a praise report, something, and you want to meet with our prayer team, we encourage that. They are in the back right over there. They will pray with you about anything and everything. They are confidential, and please utilize them if there's something you need some help with this morning.
Absolutely. And don't forget to pick up your kids. Upstairs, I know they're having a great time upstairs, but make sure on your way out you kind of pick them up and enjoy. I love handles today and then Thursday.
Yes. Many hands make for light work, so if you have a few minutes to stay after, we do have to get the pals back into shape. So please meet us in the back corner. We'll give you some brooms, some assignments, and we thank you ahead of time for helping us. And we always want to thank the pals for being so gracious and letting us use the stage.
And please, if anyone here needs prayer, I know we all do. I know I do. So if you think of me during the course of the week, pray for me. I'll welcome any prayer. But we do have a prayer corner located in the back, and we have some wonderful people that will stand in agreement with you on anything, and they'll lift you up in prayer and be there for you.
All right. And with that, we are all done.
We're all set.
Thank you so much.
We love you, 4 Point. Enjoy the rest of the week.
The lights can go up. Then people will realize it's over.
One more time.